and welcome, welcome, welcome to Full Metal Mayhem, a unique look at some of the most entertaining and sometimes downright weird motor racing that England has to offer. Let's start our engines and get on over to Bovington Raceway in Hertfordshire, where we're going to see the British Caravan Grand Prix.
Absolute mayhem. It's just wild out there. I've been racing 15 years and I just won't do a caravan meeting because it is absolute nutters out there. By the end of the first lap, it'll be just a chassis, no caravan, just wheels.
It is like a battlefield. I suppose you could say it's with mines, really, because there's things going off everywhere. High-powered stuff. You just have to keep that right foot down and keep going.
We've all sat behind the odd caravan on our way to the seaside at some stage in our lives. As the happy camper plods along at 30 miles an hour for mile after mile after mile, thoughts turn from that pleasant day down at the coast to acts of premeditated automotive murder as normally sedate drivers consider ways of getting past that road-hogging duo that have very little to do with the highway code. Of course, in reality, we all sit tight for another 10 miles until a safe passing spot arrives and we wave a cheery two-fingered hand greeting to the caravaner. Revenge, however, is at hand. They may once have taken Auntie Joyce and Uncle Bert to the seaside at 15 miles an hour, but now they've been assigned to a far more furious pace for the British Caravan Grand Prix. But before they make their last appearance behind a tow car, they must be made race-worthy. This isn't exactly Formula 1 Grand Prix racing, so being made race-worthy involves a considerable amount of use of the old sledgehammer.
He's ready.
Well, it's totally different to any other type of racing whatsoever. There's no handling involved at all with caravan racing. You just put your foot down and hope that you hit something soft.
Basically, you just put your harness on, take your brains out, put your foot down, and just go.
It's no different to driving like on the M25 on a Monday morning, really.
At the end of the day, you can have the biggest crash in the world and get out and shake the guy's hand, and that's what it's all about. Being able to get out and being able to shake his hand.
Caravans are good because they just make such a mess, and we've got to clear it up at the end of the day.
It is mad.
The tension mounts as the caravans are hitched to the back of the cars and the drivers have just a few moments to review their tactics before the race. A record crowd is champing at the bit, awaiting the main race of the day. Few will really care what those tactics are, just as long as there's plenty of crashes.
Just take your brain out. That's the best way to do it. And close your eyes, that helps.
Finally, the race gets underway and it's 10 laps of glory around this 300-metre circuit. Much to the delight of the crowd, not many of the caravans make it through the first few laps. Excellent! Eventually, a winner emerges from the carnage, and on this occasion, it's Julian Buck, or Bucky as he's known, who takes the top honour. Bless him. But what's it like to be taking part in the caravan journey from hell?
Chaos. 'Tis every time, chaos. Just if you hit something at the back, you can't see where you're going, then somebody hits you and you think, oh my God, what's happening here? But then it all happens and away you go again.
Good job it's the last race of the day. Has anyone seen the other broom?
This is a prestigious event. People have travelled from many miles away. Yeah, this is the one. I mean, there are racers and there are racers, but no, this is the one. This is the British.
Ah, makes you proud, doesn't it? Taxis roaring around with no concern for the rules, hitting other cars and carrying on regardless, ramming their way through the pack to get to the front. Yes, it does sound like another afternoon in Piccadilly Circus, but actually it's the London taxi cab race, where for once all the drivers can do all the cutting up they like and the swearing, and it's all perfectly legal. London was the first city in the world to have a licensed taxicab trade. It can be traced back to the English playwright William Shakespeare, whose plays became so popular, carriages charged to pick up and drop off the theatre-going public. While the world-famous black cab has a very sophisticated background, its drivers today are better known for cutting up traffic, jumping red lights, making U-turns in the middle of Oxford Street, and using language to fellow road users that's far removed from that heard in a Shakespeare play. So no surprise that most of the flat-capped gentlemen of the cab trade would have felt at home in the taxicab Grand Prix held in Essex. We should point out that the drivers were not real cab drivers, but their closest driving colleagues, the UK's maddest stock car and banger racers. However, as with any motorsport, having a race strategy is important. And your plan is, Andy?
Purely to get in the way, cause a bit of havoc today. It's a little bit slow, so there's only one thing to do, and that's just get in everyone's way.
Following their transition from road warrior to track warrior, some 18 retired black cabs took to the circuit for their swan song. On the day, driver John Randalls in Taxi 207 avoided trouble and completed the 12 laps in a time just over 5 minutes and became winner of the London Taxicab Grand Prix. Amazingly, he managed to do so without swearing out the window at every passing car and without overcharging an American tourist by taking him on an extended tour of London en route to Heathrow Airport. The full contact bangers are quite crazy enough when it comes to racing on the oval. Now add a crossover in the middle of the track and you're certain to witness some of the most nerve-shredding racing ever seen. Get ready for the Bangers Figure of 8 World Final, an event for only the toughest drivers and not one for fans with weak hearts. Now, if you think that racing old cars around an oval circuit with the aim of deliberately battering them to pieces is pretty mad, how about adding the additional element of making them cross over in the middle of the track at full speed? Welcome to the world of Figure of 8 banger racing. As the name suggests, Figure of 8 involves the cars crossing in the centre of the track as a normal part of the race. Of course, normal is not really a term that can be applied to this style of racing, and indeed anyone who is prepared to strap themselves into a car and then brave the oncoming traffic in the centre is probably far from normal themselves.
On the Figure of 8 circuit, you've got cars coming towards you, both driver's side and passenger side, at mainly flat out speed in sort of second gear, so you're looking at impacts of sort of 50 mile an hour thereabouts. Obviously the cars are well built, we have got a lot of protection around us, but there unfortunately is injuries now and again with it. Like any sport though, it's I would say yes, probably it is a little bit more dangerous, but certainly not as dangerous as playing football or rugby.
Nonetheless, Speedworth South sees massive grids of cars and drivers prepared to do just that at Wimbledon Stadium for the annual World Figure of 8 Banger Championship. This event is definitely not for faint-hearted fans or drivers, as the cars miss each other by mere inches on the centre crossover.
When you're sitting on a roller coaster, waiting to go on a roller coaster, and that you get that feeling, that dry mouth feeling, and the sensation that you're going to do something that's not natural to the body. That's the best way of describing it. It's not a natural thing to do, to be racing around in cars or being spun into corners or hitting fences at silly speeds. It's just a buzz because it's so out of the ordinary to everyday life.
Missing the other car is not something banger racers really like to do, so it doesn't take too much imagination to figure out that the end result is plenty of very bent cars by the end of the evening's racing. And at the end of the evening's mayhem, there can only be one winner, and on this occasion, it was Keith, Maverick Painter. Vans, or more precisely white vans, caught much criticism from the public on Britain's roads. Drivers are deemed to be intimidating, road hogs, or sometimes downright rude in exchanges with other drivers. Yet these characteristics are just right for our next racing spectacle, where vans of all sizes jostle for top honours. Ever since the term white van man was coined back in 1997 by Sarah Kennedy on her BBC Radio 2 programme, van drivers up and down the country have taken on the mantle of what sociologists refer to as folk devils. But as you'll probably notice, there's not much difference between white van mans driving on the road or on the track. Some people may think the drivers for our next event are completely mad, or perhaps they've just got nerves of steel. whatever their motivation, it's always a pretty spectacular result. Take one completely knackered old car, add one brave or quite possibly mental driver, and get him or her to travel at top speed around Wimbledon's famous stock car racing circuit, and then drive the car over a ramp on the home straight, and you have all the ingredients for the annual Ramp Rollover competition. The event, which raises money for a famous London children's charity, produces the kind of action and metal twisting stunts that you normally only see in a Hollywood movie, as the cars take to the air and inevitably come back to earth in a shower of sparks and twisted metal.
You need a lot of bottle, and you just need to put your foot down hard. There's no real secret. You hit the ramp. Once you've left the ramp, it's pretty much the car goes where it goes. After that, you've got no control on it. It's just picking the right car, bit of power, looking nice. First of all, you hope you don't lose it, because everyone's staring at you. Just to keep it as fast as you can, and hit the ramp on the one wheel, on the passenger side, and hold on. It is adrenaline, it's a rush. There's no rush you can do something like this.
While most racing drivers dread rolling their cars over, this bunch of nutters, brave drivers, seem to live for it, bringing out an incredible array of cars for the event, which has seen Porsches, Lancias and even the humble VW Beetle leaving terra firma as the drivers raise the hairs on the audience's necks, as well as money for a deserving cause.
Was that as good as it felt?
The three-wheeled Reliant Robin was never going to be blessed with the lightning-quick handling of a sports car, and it's always been a joke long before Del Boy got his dodgy hands on one. So what's the best thing to do with a car that's capable of rolling over at 5 miles an hour, handles like a wheelie bin full of concrete, and is about as strong as a Kleenex tissue? Race it, of course. The world of motor racing is renowned for its multi-million-dollar sponsorships, computer-designed race cars and champagne lifestyle drivers. Then there's the Reliant Robin. When the first Reliant Robin rolled off the assembly line 60 years ago, its limitations as a racing car should have been very apparent. For a start, they only had 3 wheels, making cornering, shall we say, a little bit interesting to say the least. Beloved by drivers of a certain age, usually equipped with a furry wheel muff, these machines were early instigators of road rage, as the said drivers plodded along at 25 miles an hour, leaving a plume of oily smoke in their wake, and other drivers contemplated severe acts of violence to get past them. That was certainly the case at Mildenhall in East Suffolk, where the annual Reliant Robin World Final happens every July. The action may not have been fast, but it certainly was furious. Needless to say, classic car enthusiasts are not lining up with open checkbooks for the Reliants, so one of the great attractions is that they're cheap to get hold of and simple to get ready to roll. Sorry, to race.
They're coming up in prices. They're coming up average, you can pay 20 quid plus sort of thing nowadays, and it's getting quite scarce in some places.
As far as tactics are concerned, well, survival is the name of the game.
Whatever happens, just go with the flow, because whatever you plan, it'll go wrong.
Follow the 2 front boys and just keep going.
If you don't get away when you're at the front, that's it. It could be a big pile up and all over. You've sort of got to get away and sort of get going.
Typical of a British summer afternoon, conditions were somewhat overcast, with the odd shower, which made the oval racing circuit especially slippery. Excellent! As soon as the race got underway, that seemed to be the case, for Mildenhall Stadium soon began to resemble a graveyard for Reliance. The engine on the Reliant is a mere 650cc, so while the high-speed crashes aren't really possible, plenty of collisions and rollovers are. Lovely! But it's not just a matter of battering the opposition off the track, as it also takes a fair amount of skill to control a car as it drifts around the bends on 3 wheels. Roger Nelson crossed the line first in this event, and the plastic pigs, as the Robins are affectionately known, proved the old adage about flying pigs wrong. Fans who have perhaps spent longer than advisable at the bar at Wimbledon Stadium could be forgiven for thinking they're seeing double when the incredible Siamese Racers take to the track. If you're stone cold sober, you're not seeing things. That really is a Metro perched on top of the Sierra. 2 cars and 2 drivers with one result. Plenty of mad action. If you think that the world of full Metal Mayhem racing is weird enough when the drivers are competing in single cars, wait till you take a look at the Siamese Racers. The Siamese cars consist of a Rover Metro perched on top of a Ford Sierra, with a brave and generally quite mad pilot steering from the top car, while an equally brave and equally certifiable driver operates the accelerator and brakes from the bottom car. Put simply,
downstairs is for pedalling, upstairs is for steering.
Thanks, Phil. Believe it or not, Phil's a policeman, hence the name on the side of his car, Plod. If only all coppers had such a sense of fun, normal life would be much more interesting. Needless to say, handling's not on par with a Formula 1 Ferrari, so plenty of interesting racing action is on the cards when these bizarre machines attempt to navigate their way round Plough Lane. To add to the fun, these cars race to banger rules, so drivers are allowed to stick the bumper in as the race progresses. The Siamese Racers provide almost unbelievable racing, but in these politically correct times, it's only a matter of time before the promoter, Speedworth South, has to put them in the racing programme as conjoined cars suffering from restricted handling disorder. Our last pit stop for Full Metal Mayhem is to catch the most coveted title in the metal bending world of banger racing, the Banger World Final at Wimbledon's Plough Lane Stadium. Each year, the cream of the banger racing world fight it out for the title with their weapons of mass destruction, otherwise known as the National Bangers. Go on, admit it. You watch Formula One hoping to see a big pile-up, don't you? Rallying, you're just hoping one of the cars is going to roll over and end up in a big heap at the side of the road, aren't you? Well, here's a sport where crashes, rollovers and more action in one race than you'll see in a whole season's Formula One racing is guaranteed. Welcome to the Banger Championship of the World at London's Wimbledon Stadium.
You do more than a lap, so I'm too worried.
Forget all that precision engineering. Banger racing is all about smashing and crashing in an adrenaline-fueled frenzy. Throw the rulebook out the window and strap yourself in for one hell of a ride. The battle is open to unlimited engine capacity bangers, and it draws the biggest names from the racing world for a chance to compete for this prestigious title.
I think it's just the adrenaline you get when you're out there, smashing into things and getting them out of the way and hitting the other cars. Just the general buzz of it, really.
At this event, Mark tried to defend his title against a horde of drivers, all determined to smash their way through to the front of the pack and add their name to the most sought-after trophy in banger racing. Pride was clearly at stake in this ultimate challenge, and the cars were presented with paintwork that wouldn't be out of place on a show car. Sadly, all of these beautifully turned out machines were reduced to scrap metal by the end of the night. The excitement mounted as the 43 qualifying entrants gently rolled around behind the pace car. However, this was the calm before the storm, and the second the pace car pulled away, full Metal Mayhem reigned. The crowd roared their approval as metal clashed and smoke billowed from the early casualties. Halfway through the 25-lap race, and a fair percentage of the cars were wiped out. continued, the field of drivers diminished, but the lead changed continually right up to the end. Finally, a winner emerged. Number 22, Dave Vincent, took the checkered flag at the end of the gruelling competition. But for Dave, a car breaker from Cambridgeshire, what did it mean to become world champion?
It means a lot, really, because you race all year to get here, basically, and this is the one you want to win, and I finally won it.
So do you think this is the cream of your career now?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, this is what you race for.
It's like commuting Russia and London, it's no different. But this time it's legal.
At the end of the biggest night in banger racing, the only people smiling more than the racers were the local scrap merchants.
Just take your brain out. That's the best way to do it. And close your eyes, that helps.
Basically, just put your harness on, take your brains out, put your foot down, and just go.
It's just wild out there.
It's no different to driving like on the M25 on a Monday morning, really.
By the end of the first lap, it'll be just a chassis, no caravan, just wheels.
Well, it's totally different to any other type of racing whatsoever. There's no handling involved at all with caravan racing. You just put your foot down and hope that you hit something soft.
It is mad.